Hey guys, insight number 5 here. So we're in Mosiah 23 verses 21 through 24, and then again in 24, 9 through 22. Now this really shows the promise of covenant living. So the previous chapters have been talking a little bit about Alma and his people, but we focused a little bit on Limhi and his people, who are out doing stuff as well. So Alma here refuses to be king. And chapter 23, he's like, no, look, kings have gone notoriously bad. I don't want to do that. I will, however, be a high priest, right, and work on that. And in 15 it says, thus did Alma teach his people that every man should love his neighbour as himself, and there should be no contention among them. So he continues to teach them how to live in this covenant living, because this is the baptized people. These are the ones that were in that covenant living. He doesn't want to see them fall into that again. It says in the ones that we're going to focus on, though, 21 through 24, it says, nevertheless, the Lord seeth fit to chasten his people. As in, you guys need some teaching. I know it's going to be hard when we're in this extreme camping situation, but I remember that's where Nephi learnt most of his stuff in his extreme camping situations. And you want to learn more about that, it's insight number 2. I'll talk about extreme camping situations. Go have a look at that. Continues in 22, nevertheless, whosoever putteth his trust in the same shall be lifted up at the last day. The promises that you get. Yea, and thus it was with this people. For behold, I will show unto you that they were brought into bondage, and none could deliver them but the Lord their God, yea, even the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. And it came to pass that he did deliver them, and he did show forth his mighty power unto them, and great were their rejoicings. So again, he's reminding them back to the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, the God that existed, Jesus Christ, in ancient times and Old Testament times that these people knew about, because to them weren't so ancient, to us very ancient, but he was reminding them that you will get delivered. It is going to be hard, it doesn't make it easy, and it does take time, but you will be delivered. It's the promise of covenant living, and in that time that you're there and you're living those covenants, you'll be all right. 27 I have marked. I haven't written this in the notes, but I do want to share it. This is when the Lamanites came to hurt them. Alma went forth and stood among them and exhorted them that they should not be frightened, but that they should remember the Lord their God and that he would deliver them. And that's something that we need to do more often in ourselves, in these moments that we have of like, oh my gosh, what are we going to do? We're stuck. Is to just calm and stand there and go, it is all right. God will deliver us. It might not look like we wanted to. It might mean we have to walk 20 Ks instead of somebody coming along and fixing our flat tire. Whatever the situation is, God will deliver you. He will give you the strength to walk that far. He will make it so that you can do it. It's all very interesting how that works, and you've got to look at ways that do come as deliverance rather than ignoring the ways that came because they weren't meeting your expectations. That wasn't a deliverance I thought was going to happen, therefore it wasn't from God. Well, actually it was, and you're just not seeing it. The help was there, and you turned it down because it didn't look like you asked for exactly. But actually what he's sending you is better, and you've got to be more open to that. So that, and then in 24, 9 through 22, we go into where Amulon persecutes Alma and his people specifically, and tells them that they're going to be put to death if they pray. So they start praying in their hearts. Because Amulon knew Alma had been one of King Noah's priests and was pretty peeved at him. So he's going to put exercise authority over him and like, yeah, I'm going to get you, Which, sure, because they didn't have a good life, but Alma and his people did not raise their voices to the Lord their God and poured out their hearts, and he did know the thoughts of their hearts. That's that prayer in your heart all the time. Sometimes you can't pray out loud for whatever reason, but you can keep it in your heart. And they, in 13, and it came to pass that the voice of the Lord came to them in their affliction, saying, lift up your heads and be of good comfort, for I know of the covenant which ye have made unto me, and I will covenant with my people and deliver them out of bondage. Just like he did for the people of, just like the God, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. It is the same God. We read of deliverance in the scriptures over and over and over again. We read of deliverance in church history over and over and over again. And deliverance sometimes, as Elder Holland recently reminded us when he was at conference and talked about the prayers given for him and his wife. That deliverance for his wife was going home to heavenly parents. That deliverance for him was, you've still got work to do. I'm going to make you better and strengthen you so you can go do it. And that's not the deliverance he would have wanted. But he's doing it. And we can take great example from that. Because there's deliverance we've had at times, and I've had, and I've gone, that's not what I wanted. And yet actually it was what Christ needed and what was best for me. I just didn't accept it at the time. So we need to be a little more open to what that deliverance might be. And 9 through 22, which this is where we are, still reading again. So he eases their burdens again as well. He shows up in that bondage and that burden with you. And the end is promised. He is going to deliver you, but he'll be with you in those middle places. You know, Emily Freeman talks about those middle places all the time. It's becoming more of a common thing, and I'm glad of that because I talk about them a lot because, you know, a lot of people will say, this happened, and then I prayed, and then everything was fine. And I'm like, well, no, because it doesn't work like that. Sometimes, but often not. There's a whole lot of learning in the middle, and that's the goal we learn from. What happened in those middle places? When we gained that experience with Christ, when we went through those trials, leaning on him and being yoked with him, how do we gain that experience? That is all valuable information to help the rest of us do the same thing. So during those middle times, he's with you. What are you learning? How can you share that to help others be able to do the same thing? And it came, same thing there, the deep sleep comes on the Lamanites, and they're oppressors, and they're able to walk away and take everything. 21 is lovely. They give thanks straight away. In the valley of Alma, they poured out their thanks to God because he had been merciful unto them and eased their burdens and had delivered them out of bondage. For they were in bondage, and none could deliver them except it were the Lord their God. And they gave thanks to God. Yea, all their men and all their women, all their children that could speak lifted their voices in praises to God. And it's pretty cool. And they all join up. We get to go to Zarahemla next week and have them all join up together. It's pretty awesome there. So even repented or not guilty, whatever we're standing at, we can still be in bondage. So even if we're not, like if we're innocent, we could be in bondage. If we're completely guilty of the thing that we're doing, we can still be in bondage. That exists for both extremes of all the scale in there. It's that. So reading these experiences shows us that repentance and innocence does not take away our challenges. We can repent, we can be innocent, it still does not take away our challenges. However, it helps greatly in overcoming and becoming. It helps us in those extreme camping places to find those things and to overcome, especially if we can do it together. Now, sometimes deliverance can look like fleeing, and that was what my deliverance looked like. When I was out of bondage, I fled. I grabbed some stuff and out. Sometimes it looks like the death of someone. That happens too. As I said, like Elder Holland, that was deliverance for his wife. Sometimes, like Abinadi, it was death for him. That was his deliverance. So sometimes it looks like dying. Sometimes it looks like running away. And sometimes it's a triumphant win over a battle. It's going to look different. And we've got to be more open to what it could look like. It can seem a tragedy that actually brought us to people and places that we actually needed. And we wouldn't know that unless we went through it and embraced that and did that. In our deliverance moments, do not overlook the many miracles so easily missed or blame God because it's not how we thought it would be. His plan is mightier, and we need to trust that. So in all those deliverance moments, don't overlook all the little miracles that are happening because they're everywhere. He's with us in it. He's showing us all these miracles to keep us going and fighting like dragons. We can do this. Sometimes the actual deliverance looks like running away, fleeing, dying. Sometimes it's victory. Sometimes it's just done. It's all very different for each one of us. And I think if we could look at it a little more openly as to what that deliverance might be, that we'd be more accepting of it and be able to see the goodness, because it's so hard to do that when you're in those moments, and yet it's there. So have a think about that. His plan is mightier. Trust it. As much as I'm still struggling with a lot of that, trying to trust it. All right. Hope you enjoyed this week. It's about deliverance of two different peoples and how it works out, and I hope you got some stuff out of it. I look forward to joining you next week when we go back into Zarahemla, and they will become Nephites, and yay, happy times. And it does look good, and then it gets bad again. But, hey, anyway. Thank you for joining me. Have a great weekend. Stay safe out there, guys. And remember, come follow me.